Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Lawns, crepe myrtle, and hydrangeas, what do they all have in common? They're all viewer questions we're going to answer on today's show. It's the Q&A show, just ahead on the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. This week we're going to spend the whole show answering viewer questions. Every week we get more questions than we can answer on air. We do answer them all and post the answers at familyplotgarden.com. Let's start off with a question about peaches. I have some 10-year-old peach, plum, and apricot and nectarine trees. Before the fruit is half grown, it shrivels up into a hard brown piece of garbage. I haven't sprayed them the way I should, but it's hard to believe that they would be so bad just missing the right time to spray. How can I keep my fruit trees from producing hard little brown fruits? And this is from Daniel from Ortewa, Tennessee. Ottawa. You know what that is, Mr. D?
Not a clue.
Mr. Rick, Ottawa, Tennessee.
Close to somewhere that had an Indian village once upon a time.
Yeah, how about that? But yeah, so he has the little hard brown fruit.
Yeah.
You know what that is, don't you?
I do know what it is, and Daniel, believe it. You have to spray peaches, plums, and nectarines in order to get fruit that are free from a disease called brown rot. Right. And those little brown mummies that you have are probably the result of brown rot, the brown rot fungus. It's going to happen, you know, and it shouldn't be that hard to believe, really, you know, because it's anyone that has tried it on a home, as a homeowner, or on a commercial level, they've learned that these cover sprays are critical to control and manage that disease.
And follow the schedule.
That's right. Follow the schedule.
And I'll
go back to the schedule.
Right, go back to the schedule. Right, go back to the schedule.
And it's, we need to be, you're late already.
Yeah.
The peach trees are blooming.
Yes, they are.
Captan fungicide is recommended on the UT peach, plum, and cherry home orchard spray guide. Captan is what's recommended during bloom. Do not use insecticides during bloom because we don't want to harm the honeybees, the pollinators.
Right, sure.
After all the petals have fallen, then either Captan or sulfur or chlorothalonil. Those are fungicides that will take care of brown rot, but also throw malathion in there to take care of the plum curculio, which is the worm that will get in that fruit. And then continue that at shuck split, Captan or sulfur or chlorothalonil, not all three of those, one of those three, plus malathion, the insecticide. And then cover sprays after shuck split, Captan or sulfur plus malathion. And just continue doing that every 10 to 14 days.
And if it rains?
If it rains, you didn't spray. It'll erase that spray, you know.
What a lot of work.
You got a lot of fruit really bad.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Wow.
Grow blueberries.
A whole lot easier. All you got to do is fight birds. Huh?
Yeah. It's a lot of work, and my hat's off to anyone who's successful doing it. And if you figure out an organic way to control the brown rot or the plum curculio, please let me know.
Lately, I've been hearing a lot about a fruit tree named a loquat. It is also known as the Japanese or Chinese plum. I've heard others in South Carolina and Louisiana speak about how these trees grow prolifically in the wild in their areas. Are you familiar with loquat? And is it something found in Arkansas or Tennessee? And this is from Carrie from Marion, Arkansas. Okay. Walter, I'm actually familiar with loquat. It's actually, of course, a fruit tree. Okay. You know, it has edible fruit, you know, which is shaped like a pear. Okay. Most people grow it because it has beautiful leathery leaves. beautiful dark green color to those leaves that they actually use in flower arrangements, right? They can grow in this area, okay? But according to the Dr. Michael Durr,
Okay.
you should probably grow them zone 8 to 10, okay? Further south,
That's right.
because that tree, of course, will produce more fruit
Yes.
as you get further south. It can produce fruit here. We're 7B, close to 8,
Yeah.
right? You may get some fruit, but not enough. And then our winter times might actually kill it or knock it back.
Okay.
So that's why he said probably best grown in zone 8 to 10.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, it's an edible fruit. People like the leaves used in flower arrangements. Easy to grow, don't have to fertilize it much. And they actually don't have many pest or, disease problems. Right. But yeah, I'm a little familiar with it.
Okay.
Because I went to school in Louisiana, so it grew a lot, in the southern parts of Louisiana.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, a lot of people ate the fruit, of course, down in that area. I think Big Jim was one of the cultivars that they actually had down that way. But it's a beautiful tree.
But anything named Big Jim
Big Jim.
has to be good.
Yeah, it's got to be good, right?
Yeah, it's got to be good.
I was pruning my cherry tree and one branch had a hole down the middle. In it, the hole was what looked like a wormhole. What should I do? And this is from Mary in Jonesville, Virginia, via Facebook.
Okay.
So we have the picture there. Looks like a wormhole.
But it
So Rick, what do you think?
looks like it's in the pith of the
It's a
tree.
bit to me.
But when it said wormhole, I thought of a borer right away, and there are
I did.
stem borers too. But you'd see the hole going through the bark into the stem more. How else would it enter?
I agree with that. Because
Yeah,
I thought boar.
Yeah, and peach tree borer. One of the
Right, and
common
that's what I
hosts of a
thought,
peach
right.
tree borer is cherry.
Sure.
Ornamental flowering cherry and fruiting cherries are also. I'm not sure that could be a secondary infection. That branch looks dead to me. And so it could have been a secondary infection of like a longhorn wood borer or something like that. We need further
Yeah, we
investigation.
need more
I think.
more
Yeah, more
to be
investigating.
sure of that. But I did think about a boar, that lesser peach tree
Boars
boar.
love cherry trees.
Right.
They do. And
We treat ours on Cherry Road multiple times a year.
right.
What do y'all use when y'all treat?
Actually, we have a company that does
Okay,
it.
okay.
So we used to use Lanate, but I know that's
Oh,
long
yeah.
gone.
Right.
I'm not sure what they're using.
Astro is probably something that they use, I'm sure.
Well, I can tell you on the peach, plum, and cherry page of our home orchard spray, the recommendation for borer control is either S-fenvalerate or gamma-cyhalothrin. Now that's for the fruiting cherries.
Right.
Okay.
But S-fenvalerate or
Surely it works.
gamma-cyhalothrin,
Okay.
active ingredients.
The insect doesn't care if it's ornamental or fruiting.
Right.
I would hope not.
I've noticed these areas on my crepe myrtle recently. Are they normal growth expansions in the bark or are they a disease? And this is from Mr. Mike, Ringo, Georgia. So I was telling Walt a little bit about this. If you look at that, it seems like that crepe myrtle has probably been wounded before, right? Because that looks like to me that it's actually trying to callus over. So it's compartmentalizing the injured tissue with new tissue. So yeah, callus, or some of the certified arborists would say wound wood, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would think.
Oh,
that's what
absolutely.
it's trying to
That's what that is.
do. And
Probably got hit by a weed eater or something.
weed
That's what it-
eater, probably got
yeah.
crepe
Murder.
murder.
Yes.
How about that?
Yeah.
Probably something like
Like
that happened. Yeah, but the thing is, trees don't heal themselves, so to speak. Yeah, it just has to compartmentalize, the injured tissue with some of that new tissue. Is the callus
Covering it
growth.
over, so
Yeah.
it's just going to be an
Right.
abnormal looking growth on there. So,
And the tree will survive it.
yeah.
It'll survive it. It'll seal itself. And it'll be fine. Right. But yeah, we just have to make sure that we're not, the weed eater blight, as
Blight.
most people call it, or the crepe murder and things like that. And Mr. Mike, that should be fine. So don't worry about it. It's not a disease. It'll be okay. Recently, during a very rainy period, I noticed one pine tree had a white soap suds looking substance streaming down the trunk of the tree. What is this? Is it bad for that tree and other trees nearby? And this is from Kathy from Dandridge. Okay. So we actually know what that is.
Yeah.
And I've seen it before.
Yeah,
So
I
why don't
have.
you tell folks what is it?
It's bacterial slime flux.
Slime flux. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And it doesn't happen just on pines. It'll get on
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
trees. But in the name bacterial,
Yes.
which means we don't have bacteriicides, we have fungicides.
Right.
So there's not a whole lot to really spray on it. As far as hurting the other plants, trees around there, no. Usually it's caused by a wound or something, something injury to the tree, and that's the tree's response to it.
Yeah.
The slime that's going down can, though, because it is a bacteria, can affect and kill lichens and moss and maybe grass at the wherever it goes at the base of the tree. But given time, the tree will actually compartmentalize that. But if the conditions are such that the bacteria wants to continue, it'll just continue to rot in that area in the tree. Otherwise, the best thing to do is keep the tree healthy
Yes.
and try to have it overcome that, so it will compartmentalize it and the tree will go on.
So try to keep it as healthy as you possibly can. Right. Yeah, because that bacteria is pretty much eating away at it, you know, it's feeding, off of those nutrients in that sap, for the most part.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what that is, Miss Kathy. Bacterial slime flux. And it has,
Oh, it doesn't smell,
smell?
yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't
it's-
smell
yeah.
good.
It's not the best smell in the world. Every year I get bugs in my petunias. They are light green and attach themselves to the stems. Last year I tried spraying neem oil on them. It only seemed to slow them down. Because I grow them from seeds, I know I haven't brought the bugs home from a nursery. What are they and how can I control them? Thank you. And this is from Miss Lynn in Knoxville. Miss Lynn, Miss Kim is here. She's a greenhouse manager. So, what do you say about this one, Miss Kim?
It sounds like they're probably aphids.
They're probably aphids.
They're
right.
probably aphids,
That's
which
what
are
I'm saying.
sucking. They attach
Yes.
themselves to the plant.
Piercing, sucking mouth
Piercing,
parts.
sucking.
Right.
The way we treat them, we do I do use neem.
Okay,
And
okay.
the thing is with neem, you have to keep reapplying. It's not a
Yes.
one-time thing.
Yes.
And
Good,
because the
good.
bugs reproduce over, and they keep going, so you have
Rapidly.
to keep spraying.
Yes.
So the other thing, we have done some biological control. We release ladybugs.
good.
So if you have any good bugs, and that's one thing people need to learn, the good bugs from the bad bugs
Good
in their
point.
yard.
Good point.
And so ladybugs are good bugs.
Right.
And it's all stages of the ladybugs. The larvae and the adults
Mm-hmm.
will eat aphids. So we do that. The other thing, sometimes if they're real bad, you can cut the plant back and it will, come back
Sure.
out and just watch it that way. People say you can spray with a water hose, but that seems to do more damage to the plant than
Yeah.
knocking the
Right.
insects off.
Yeah,
so,
plus you get
but
wet.
She could keep spraying neem. There's some over-the-counter stuff, but also just if you learn your good bugs from your bad bugs and encourage
Helps.
those, it helps.
Yeah.
So
Neem works, it's just slow.
it's
It
just
just has to be reapplied.
You just have to keep reapplying.
Reapplied. Walter, anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, just I would say malathion also.
Okay.
For those who would go that route,
Right.
retreated. But yeah,
Right.
pretty much that.
Insecticidal soap.
Insecticidal
Right,
soap,
it's something
yeah.
else that you can use that's safe. You just
Yes.
make sure you read the label on that. But yeah, they multiply pretty rapidly.
Pretty rapidly.
Right. And something else too that I should tell homeowners: don't apply too much nitrogen fertilizer, because when you encourage new succulent growth, you're gonna have
That's
aphids.
what the bugs like to
Right,
eat.
they like that. So there you have it, Miss Lynn. Okay, you can use water. Neem oil does work. Insecticidal soap, or there's some malathion if you so wish. But please read the label. What is the best way to get rid of snails? Well, we hear that all the time because they are devouring my bedding plants. And this is from
Yes.
Shirley from Bartlett. Those snails. And guess what? You're going to see a lot of them anyway because they like dark, wet conditions. Guess what it's been for the last 5 or 6 months? It's been wet.
Inundated with water, yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
you're going to have an abundance of snails. So how do we get rid of them though?
Well, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. There's a product called diatomaceous earth. If you spray that around, it's really jagged when they roll over
has
it.
the sharp edges,
Sharp edges,
right.
and it cuts them up.
Which leads to dehydration. Most
Yeah.
people don't realize that when their
Yeah,
body
they-
parts get cut up, they dehydrate.
They will not
and die.
live after
Right.
that. some people put out beer, but you know, if you have pets and stuff,
Right.
you know, beer traps but if you have pets and stuff, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I've done a simple process of putting like a 2x4, just a little piece of a 2x4, and laying it around where I knew they were at. And what happens is they go underneath it and spend the day. So
Yeah.
in the daytime, you can go over there and flip it up, and there they are, and you can just scrape them
Right.
off and get rid of them that way.
Right, because they come out at night.
They come out at
Right,
night.
they come
So
out at
during the day, they're hiding. So and they like to hide under little boards. So that works too. And of course, if you wanted to go the chemical route, there's chemicals that you can use, and some of them are still was it iron
Phosphate.
iron phosphate.
Right, iron phosphate.
And it will and that is a mineral, of course, that is organic.
Yeah, it's considered to be
So
a
it's
green
an organic,
product,
it's a green
organic
product,
right.
and that's in a lot of the baits and then the powders that
Mm-hmm.
you can put around. So none of that is, you know, severe.
Right.
You can just
Yeah,
pick,
it's
you can, and
safe.
you could it's all safe, and you can pick a combination of some of those, and you know, you'll probably get rid of your problem.
Probably so.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
Anything
a
to
lot-
add to
I
that?
think a lot of options you have for getting rid of them.
Right. Yeah, if you have hostas, you'll know if you have snails or not. They love those hosta leaves.
They really
for
do.
Sure. But yeah, all of those methods will work. I usually tell folks though, stay away from using salt.
Oh gosh, yes,
Yeah,
no.
yeah, I know
Well,
a lot of people
again,
that want to sprinkle salt, you know, on
But
the
that
snail.
goes to, if you get salt in the ground, it's hard to
Yes,
get rid of,
yes,
and then
you
that's
can't
not
get
good
it
for
out.
the plant. So salt is not, no, I would not use salt.
Go with some of the baits. There are some folks that I know that use the beer.
Yes.
It's cheap beer, Joe. It's cheap beer. You just have to watch out for the neighbor's cat or dog, you know. But you know they're attracted to the yeast smell of
And
the
the
beer.
beer, yeah,
so
they are.
just cheap, you know, dollar beer. It'll work. It'll work.
There's lots of options.
There's lots of options, she says. Lots of options, all right? How do I kill chickweed in my fescue lawn? And this is from Kevin in Knoxville. So Walter, he wants to kill chickweed.
Well, if you go the chemical route, I
Right.
believe probably something with 2,4-D, I would imagine would take care of that.
Right. Yeah, anything that contains 2,4-D, dicamba, be careful with dicamba.
Be careful, yep.
Read the label on that, please. Would take care of that. Read the label.
Read the label.
Fescue is on the label for a lot of these products that contain those active ingredients, because those active ingredients, of course, are broadleaf weed killers.
That's right.
Or how about another route, Miss Kim? Can't you eat chickweed?
Yeah, chickweed is edible.
It's edible. It's high in vitamin A, vitamin C. Doesn't take much soil to grow it, of course.
Right.
There's some options there.
Yeah,
Kevin.
have a party, have a, have all your neighbors over and let them try chickweed.
Right. I mean, most people eat them, like a salad, so
Yeah.
you can do that. But I always encourage folks, while we go back to, using chemicals, before we do that, cultural practices.
Sure,
though.
absolutely.
Right. Just grow a good, thick stand of fescue. It'll crowd out, of course, those broadleaf weeds that you have, and they like the chickweed, for example. But yeah, anytime you have high nitrogen, and actually lets you know that, you're going to have chickweed. It's an indicator of high nitrogen in your soils when you have chickweed. So yeah, just cultural practices, thick stand of grass, that should help. If not, there's a chemical route. Or if you like to eat, it is edible. Vitamin A and vitamin C, so how about that? What type of tree is this? How about this? Bees love it, but it has no smell. And this is from Jerry from Clarksville. Mr. Jerry, guess what that is? It's the honeysuckle tree. You can look at that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, honeysuckle.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all have fun memories
Yes.
of honeysuckle. But
Oh,
it's the
yes.
honeysuckle tree,
Yes.
right? Some of your honeysuckle are invasive.
Yes.
There's a tree, Amur, which is a very invasive honeysuckle tree. It can get out of hand, I'm just saying. If you want that tree, you can have it. If you want out of tree, you can't have the tree. But yeah, so that is a honeysuckle tree. And the bees love it, Miss Rainey.
And kids
And kids.
to suck on those blossoms.
There you
That's
go.
right.
That's
That's
what I
right.
did.
That's what we used to do, yeah.
That's what I used to do. That's for sure. All right, Mr. Jared, thank you for that. Honeysuckle tree, yeah, it takes a little bit of that. That's pretty good. I am trying to plant clematis seeds. I have done everything, but I'm not having any luck. How do I get clematis seeds to grow? And this is Mary from Horn Lake, Mississippi.
Okay.
What do you know about that?
Clematis seed are hard to germinate, first
So
of
they're
all.
hard,
They
okay.
are. They take a long time, and they have to have at least one, and some of them multiple freeze sessions to be able to germinate.
wow, okay.
So the quickest you're going to get them up is probably 6 months. Some of them take up to 3 years because they have to go through that many growing seasons of warm temperature, freezing again. Now you can do some of this if you want to put them in the refrigerator, leave them,
Okay.
then put them in the freezer overnight, take them back out the next morning, put them in the, let them thaw again, and do it manually. But it's a lot of work. What I would do would be just find you a good container that drains, put your soil in there, sprinkle your clematis seed on top, cover them lightly, and then put a piece of screen across the top of it. That'll keep the weed seed out and keep other stuff from coming in. And just stick them up underneath a flower bed somewhere. Most vines come up in the shade of other plants. Then they go through it, canopy out on the top, and get in full sunlight. But they germinate in the shade. So if you'll put them in that whatever container you got, just stick them up behind the flower somewhere and forget about it. It's kind of best if you just dig into the ground a little bit, sink it, and just so that water gets in there and can flow back and forth depending on how much is in there. If you've got holes in the side as well as holes in the bottom, then when it rains, water will get out of it if it needs to.
I got you.
And then roots, water can get back into it if it begins to dry a little bit. But just forget about it and see how it does. And then next spring, check them. See if you're getting any growth. If not, just leave them there and let time take its toll. Now, some varieties, you should be able to tell if it's a viable seed. They're plump.
Okay.
I mean, you can look at one that doesn't have viable seed and one that does and really tell a difference. So, if you've got good viable seed, just be patient, okay? It probably will happen.
6 months.
At
about
least
3
6
years.
months. At least 6 months, yeah. So,
Man, you got to be patient with that.
yeah, it's a whole lot better run down the, buy you one for $9 and plant the thing, and you know what color you're going to get.
Right.
Because chances are a lot of the hybrids are not going to come true anyway.
Okay.
So, it's fun, but it takes a long time.
We have a Lemon Daddy hydrangea that is very leggy. Can I prune it? And if so, when and how? And this is from Margie from Germantown. All right, I'm familiar with Lemon Daddy.
Yes.
All right, it's a big leaf hydrangea or microphylla.
Okay.
That makes a difference. Okay, big leaf microphylla means it should have already been pruned. Should have been pruned late winter, early spring.
Okay.
If you wait to now, guess what? You're decreasing the blooms that you have for the next year.
Okay. Because they bloom on new wood.
So you have to be careful.
Yes. Okay.
You got to be careful.
I'm learning so much.
And the thing about that is, I don't have a Lemon Daddy hydrangea at home, but I do have some at home. I usually cut mine back, about an inch or two, from the ground, and
Yes.
that's fine.
Yes, I was just going to add that when you cut it,
Yeah.
when you do prune it, prune it at the proper time. Prune
Right.
it back.
Yeah, I just
take
knock it
down.
back pretty good. Yeah, it comes back. Real good for that. But again, with the hydrangeas, it's important to know which kind you have. Right. Some old wood, some new wood.
Right.
Some are going to be late winter, early spring. Others are going to be after it blooms in July.
Right.
Before August the 1st, usually.
Yes.
So you have to know, Miss Margie, which one you have. You have the Lemon Daddy microphylla. It should have already been pruned. How do I get my hydrangea to bloom? And this is from John. It's another question that we get often at the extension office. So
Okay.
what do you think about that?
Usually it's because it's in the wrong place. We talked about earlier how our ground here tends to freeze and thaw repeatedly. Hydrangeas do much better north of here or south of here than they do here. This is the
Okay.
worst place to
Wow.
try to grow them.
Better north, south.
Better
not
north
here.
or south. If the ground
Interesting,
stays frozen, they don't sprout until after it gets warm.
Okay.
If the ground never freezes, they bloom without much damage because there's usually not any frost.
Right.
But here we typically have a frost when that ground's beginning to warm up. And if that bud, even though you cannot see a flower, if you're seeing green and get a frost on it, it will blast that flower apart inside that bud. And when it opens up, leaves out, looks beautiful, but you get no flower. That's the reason here we've always told people to plant hydrangeas on the north side of the house. Had nothing to do with the shade, had to do with that being the coldest ground and the last to warm up in the spring. That delays that bud swell, and so you're much more likely to have flowers. Now, you know, a lot of the newer ones are rebloomers. So you actually, if you lost your first one, you'd get a second crop of flowers a little later. But even there, they're not the number or the size or the quality of the ones you get early in the season.
Okay.
So, yeah, usually that's the issue. It's just in the wrong place. Avoid morning sun if at all possible.
I'm gonna put you on the spot though.
All right.
Okay. But what about pruning?
Okay. All right.
Can we talk a little bit about pruning?
Absolutely.
When to prune?
Right.
Which type?
Okay.
Which
If you're talking about the ones we call mop heads here, the blues, the pinks, and that sort of thing. Okay. Let them, when the flower just begins to pass its peak, okay, it's beginning to lose its color, that's the time to prune. That's reach way down in the plant and cut those canes off just like we would do in the Andina down low and let them fill back up through there. Okay. You cannot prune it any time after about July 1, okay, because then the buds are actually beginning to form for the following year. So you cut in September to level the thing off, you're not going to have any flowers the next year because the new growth that does come out is going to get zapped in the fall before it ever forms a flower.
Okay.
All right, so right after that. Now, if they're the summer blooming ones, or the PGs or Paniculata grandiflora that bloom in the summertime, typically have white that mature to green or like limelight or mature to red like firelight and some of those. Those bloom on first year wood.
Okay.
So right now, I just pruned mine about a week ago.
Okay.
Early in the spring, cut them off the ground.
Wow.
They will get 6-10 feet tall by the end of the season and have these magnificent, huge, big flowers.
Okay.
If you don't trim them back, you'll get more flowers, but they tend to be really small ones, clusters of small like that. So if you really want the spectacular flowers, whack them off just like you would a butterfly bush, 8 to 10 inches off the ground, and they'll come right back for you and bloom great.
Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all we have time for today. To get more information on any of the questions we answered this week, go to familyplotgarden.com. All the questions are listed on the home page. Thanks for watching and keep sending in the questions. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next week for the Family Plots, Gardening in the Mid-South. Be safe.